Rev up your engines!
Well, as usual, the government gets squirrelier and squirrelier, and now they got a big fiasco in Texas over energy. They gave subsidies for wind power for generating clean electricity, right? Well, now the gas providers got mad, so now they're providing the subsidies to the gas suppliers to make electricity. Turns out that the renewable subsidies kind of turn all of the electrical grid of Texas into a mess, and many places had a week-long power outage in February 21 freeze. So now they're going to subsidize gas power plants using natural gas to generate electricity. If you know anything about power, that's the cheapest way of doing it. The plants are the easiest to make. They use turbines, run on natural gas, generate electricity, right? They're relatively efficient. Well, turns out that the subsidies that they gave to the renewable stuff was screwing up there, so that energy was cheaper, so people were using that, and they weren't investing in the gas-powered ones, but the gas-powered one put out a lot more electricity. So now Texans will spend, get this, tens of billions of dollars to bolster natural gas electricity because since the sustainable energy ones had all these government subsidies, the gas ones couldn't compete, even though that's the one that's creating most of the electricity in Texas. And of course, as per usual, it goes haywire, right? When a government's involved, whether it's state government, federal government, it's going to be a mess, right? And now there was a plan in Texas, they're going to build more gas plants, right? Now they're saying already, oh, it's going to cost $7 billion more than we thought. There was a committee hearing in the Senate, right? And Berkshire Hathaway, who pushed the idea of pushing new gas plants to generate backup power 2 years ago, of course, you know, they want to make money on a deal, right? Earlier this year, they said it was going to cost $10.8 billion. Well, now they say it's going to cost $7 billion more. Now, this is just, you know, a few months ago, they said it's 10. Now it's 18 billion now. And, you know, by the time they build the stuff, it'll be 4 or 5 times that because it's all BS government stuff they're involved in. They lie to them what they think it's going to cost, and they charge more once they start building it, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And the hilarious thing is this is for building gas-powered electric plants that could be turned on when they're during those power emergencies, right? What's a power emergency? When there's enough electricity, that's an emergency for anybody. So, you know, they'd be running the things all the time. But to sneak it in, to make it look like they're trying to be green, they'll say, well, we're only going to use these in emergencies. Well, what's an emergency, you know? You got to put these plants on. Like, come on now. If there's stuff there, people are going to use them. It's a fact. And of course, as usual, they're not even sure in Texas, how are they going to pay for it? They're like, are we going to use state funds? Are we going to just raise the electric rates on everybody to pay for it? We know they'll end up raising electric rates because we don't have much to say about it. And, you know, the politicians are getting money in the back doors. Berkshire Hathaway obviously wants to get involved in building these things and making a whole bunch of money, right? Yeah. Who pays for it? In the end, we all end up paying for it. And, of course, the politicians in Texas are lying too. Get this. Here's what they claim. A $10.8 billion price tag just means an extra cost of less than $4 a month for residential customers, said the Berkshire Hathaway renewable resource person, right? Yeah, $4 a month. Yeah, that's their fantasy, what they say it's going to cost, you know. Yeah, there's a lot of people in Texas, so that adds up to a lot of money over time. But I wouldn't believe a word these people say. They already said it was $10.8 billion a few months ago. Now they're saying, oh, it's going to be $18 billion. And they haven't built any of them yet either. Never listen to these people. When they're making money, don't listen to anything because they'll lie, cheat, and steal to start to build the stuff, and then they'll just charge more and more, and it'll be a lot more than $4 a month for the average residential consumer. I can guarantee you that. Well, here's a guy from Troy, Illinois. He's got a Honda Civic that's got over 500,000 miles. He sent me this message. Scotty, I got a 2012 Honda Civic I purchased years ago with 6 miles on it. And now it's 555,145 miles. Yeah, I replaced the alternator, battery, catalytic converter, EGR valve, and the seat leather back, but I get it serviced regularly. How long do you think this thing will last? All right, well, you got 515,000 miles on it. Let's see, you never know. Shows you how well Honda makes engines. I mean, you still got the original engine and transmission, alternator, stuff like that. Yeah, they're gonna wear out, but 515,000 miles. That's why people buy them, because they're fun to drive, they're zippy little cars, but they last and they don't break down much. That's how the Japanese took over the car market, by making vehicles that last, get good gas mileage, don't break down all the time, and are relatively cheap to maintain when alternators and stuff do break. They're not that hard to fix, right? I remember, you go back 35 years ago, a friend of my father was a big executive, said, Scotty, there's no way Americans can compete with the Japanese. They're too good at what they do. They have an incremental system when they make them better, and all we care about is what the stock price is in the next 3 months. That's all they care about, American corporations. So it's no surprise the Japanese made better things. You know? They still are. 500,000 miles is still going strong. Landro says, my seatbelt light is illuminating. I got an 03 Toyota Corolla with 160,000 miles, and the seatbelt light lights up even when everyone has their seatbelts. And in the center console, the passenger light keeps flickering. What can I do? Okay, well, I can just about guarantee you what the problem is. Seatbelt light switch on the passenger side is broken. When you click the seatbelts together, that closes a circuit to tell the computer that you have your seatbelt buckled on, right? The passenger one is still illuminated and it's buckled in. Now, maybe more than one seatbelt is broken, but I can tell you, if you buy the passenger seatbelt, put a new one and plug it under the bottom, that should fix it. Now, you never know. You might have just something that'd be a cheap fix, like look under the seat. Maybe somebody stuck a footer under there or something and unplugged the wire that goes to the seatbelt assembly. And when it's unplugged, it's the same as not having the seatbelt click. So maybe somebody kicked something under there and knocked the wire off. Look for that. If not, though, you're going to need a new seatbelt, and at least on the passenger side, if not more. But, I mean, start at the passenger side because that light's on, and that's going to make the main seatbelt light come on, too, even though everything's all buckled up. MyFlow says, can I interchange fuses? I got a 2019 Civic uses micro fuse. Can I use a mini fuse as a replacement? Sounds crazy, but I want to see if I can use a mini instead of a micro fuse. No, don't. The thing is, fuses are set for their size and for the gauge of wire that they have on them. Yours is set for a micro fuse. If you put a mini fuse in, it will not work correctly because it's a different size. And the resistance of electrical conductivity has to do with the gauge of metal that's put in, the gauge of the wires. You would have to rewire everything if you wanted to change it to a different fuse. Even if you use the same amperage fuse, it's not going to work the same because it's a different size. Electricity all goes by size. When you got a micro fuse, which is the smallest one, you don't want to put a mini fuse where there's a micro fuse. No, you don't want to do that. You'd have to rewire the whole thing. That's why I tell people, say you're going to hook up a radio or something in your car, don't use the wiring in your car to do it. You don't know what you're going to hook it up to, what you're going to mess up. Run a wire directly from the battery to the firewall with a fuse to the radio system you're hooking up. Then you're not going to have any problems. All those guys, you see them driving around with the big subwoofers, boom, 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 boom. They all got batteries that are connected to those systems directly. They don't wire it off the wiring system of the car. Well, here's one I can't resist. Uber drivers went on a strike during a Taylor Swift concert. Turns out they're making less and less money, and so they decided, old Taylor's selling her tickets for all this fortune money. She's so rich, right? They decided they're not going to give people rides back to the concert, to home, because they're protesting. She's making all this money and they're not making hardly anything. This is happening in Florida, and here's their pay is happening to these Uber drivers. And I quote, if I do a ride to Sarasota, they're giving me $19, up to $38. We used to get $90 to $80. And they're saying, hey, we have families to support. They're not paying health care or anything for them. They can pay their own health care. I think it's funny that they protested during, a rich girls' concert. That, we couldn't get an Uber home. Oh, what's the world going to happen, right? All the money she's pulling, and then he's got these people making practically minimum wage driving their fans around. I gotta agree with these guys myself. And of course, Uber counter with a bunch of corporate nonsense. Here's what they say. Earnings for drivers on our platform remain high, with the average driver in Tampa Bay making $25 an hour while active on the app. Yeah, what a bunch of baloney. Oh, they say they're making $25 an hour? They gotta pay for their gas. They gotta pay for their car insurance. They're losing value of their cars, the mileage piles up. That's not $25 an hour, baby. I had a customer in Houston who was driving Uber, and I asked her, I said, did you ever figure out what you're making? And she said, when I figured out the gasoline, the loss of value of my car, the insurance that I have to pay, she said, I am barely making minimum wage most of the time driving for Uber. They're saying, they're making $25 an hour. Yeah, but they're paying for their own gas, their own car, their own everything. They're slaving away with all their own stuff, and then the company slaps them in the face when they say, we're making less money, saying, oh, no, you're making $25 an hour in Tampa Bay. Don't worry about it. Minus expenses, it's not $25 an hour, people. It's one thing if you're working for a company, they're paying you $25 an hour, you work 8 hours in a day, you get 8 times 25 minus all the taxes, right? Well, if you're driving your own Uber taxi, you're paying for the gas. Every hour you're going to use up a lot of gasoline if you're driving, right? Let's face the facts, your insurance, all that stuff, you're not making $25 an hour. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.